This episode is dedicated to my father, Donald Watson. He is not dead, but I certainly do believe in giving flowers while you can still smell them. His birthday was the past couple days. It's between the last episode and this episode, and he turned 59. So I just wanted to take just a brief moment just to acknowledge and recognize him and let him know how great of a man that he is and how influential he is in my life. He is the best example of manhood and fatherhood that I have ever encountered. And it's not by things, not just what he says to me and other people, but just how he lives his life and how he just represents being the best that he can do. Because I don't know about any other people or pastors out there, but it takes a lot of work to do what he does. So I recognize that, and I appreciate all that he does, and I love him very much, not just as a father, but especially as a father, but just as the best role model in my life. So for that, I just want to say thank you, Dad, and I love you. On a similar note of fatherhood, I also want to wish one of my dearest friends and long-lost brothers, Chris Diaz. I want to wish him a happy birthday and welcome him to 30hood, but also he is another shining example of fatherhood, as he, I believe, now has 3 children. You know, he is raising just like a beautiful family, beautiful children, and he is an example for me, who I am currently childless. Yes, I do not have children. I do have a little puppy, but that is not the same thing. But I just want to wish him all the best, and that I look up to him in that respect as well. So, Chris, keep doing your thing. I love you too. And now, on with the show.
FX presents the NAACP Podcast with your host, T. Sterling Watson.
Good morning, Indoobians. I am T. Sterling Watson. This is the NAACP Podcast. Thank you for stopping by and pressing play. This is week number 10 if you are doing the Savings Week Challenge. I know last episode I may have miscounted only because I was using a different calendar, but I am using Google Calendar, so you can keep track with me. This is week 10, so you should be saving $10 this week. Whatever. And that would mean that you would have a grand total of $55 in your 52-week savings challenge. So I'm going to try to keep that up every episode just to keep you on track where you are. So you should, have this amount of monies saved up by the end of the year when we get there. So just to make things easier, I'm going to give some kind of number like 10 over 55. How about that? Does that work for you? Now you know what I'm talking about? I mean, this is week 10 and you should have $55. So next week, like if I were to do this right now, these episodes are bi-weekly, but next week, if I were to do that, I would say 11 over 66. Meaning you would have, this would be a week 11 and you would have $66. But we're not there yet. We're in week 10 and you should have $55 for this episode anyway. So there we have it. So how's everybody doing? Great. Wonderful. This is Women's History Month. The particular day that I'm actually recording is International Women's Day or Women's Day. I keep kind of Women's Day, women. It's the MAN or MEN. Doesn't matter. Anyway, this particular episode, I will have a special feature to discuss about women's history. So you'll hear that a little bit later. Because I want to make sure that I, show appreciation to the women out there that are, doing the work. Because, women, they're amazing. But yet there are people out there that do not respect them in the least. And that is disgraceful. I don't know. I don't have words for it. I don't understand it, but it happens. But hey, that's out there. Women's Day, which is the day that I'm recording right now, is actually International Women's Day. So people are celebrating and, showing pictures of women internationally that I'm assuming are changing the world. I'm hoping that's what's happening. I haven't been on Twitter too much today, but that's how I found out about it. But I do want to give a shout out to one that I know that has worked with many women on her podcast, and that's Laura, who I was recently a guest on her podcast, LoudaVision. So do check out LoudaVision.com as we discuss, we discuss the recap of House of Cards from season 1 to season 3. So please go back and check that out. That is if you are a fan of House of Cards. It's not for everyone. I did end up watching House of Cards, all of season 4 within 2 days. I didn't actually mean to, but it is one of those kind of shows where you just strap in and just go, and why stop? Especially if you don't really have to do anything else, which I actually did, but I just put it to the side till later. And I'm putting this out there now. I think we'll have to discuss with Laura at a later date if we want to come back over here, because she hasn't been on this show since I think last year's Oscars review. But having her come back on the show and maybe do a recap of season 4. I mean, we'll give some time for people to watch it first because it's still so fresh, still so new. And Kevin Spacey, I'm sure he's having a great week or weekend because House of Cards came out, and then he also is narrating a show on CNN about presidents doing dastardly, dirty things just to, make their way in the White House. There's only been one episode so far, which I checked out. It's JFK versus Nixon. And some of the stuff I knew, but some of the stuff I didn't. I like learning, that kind of thing. So go check that out. And speaking of the Oscars, this year's Oscars was an interesting one. I knew for sure I wasn't going to flat out boycott it because, I mean, it's a pastime of mine. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy live tweeting it, and I've got to get my snark out there. Just it's a release for me. It's fun. And plus, I had to make sure that Leonardo DiCaprio won. Not that by me watching it or not watching it, that was going to influence whether or not he was going to win. I had to watch because it's I can't even think of the word, but yeah, it's that, whatever that is. I'm sure you might have filled it in. Exciting, the anticipation, whatever it is. And if he lost, then, I was going to go riot in the streets because, he needed to win, especially for The Revenant and the all that he put into that movie. How could you not give him the award? So yeah, if he lost, I was going to riot in the streets. Maybe not that night, maybe the next day, because the Oscars are so late, I'm so tired. Then I got to go out to the Home Depot and buy a pitchfork because I don't have one. So I just can't go out and riot immediately. But he didn't lose, so I didn't have to do all that. I didn't have to go, shop for pitchforks because, how much are they? Like $20? I don't have the time. But yeah, I was live tweeting the Oscars. I was live tweeting the concert for Flint, Michigan that was going on. They were doing a live not telecast. Would it be telecast? Webcast. That's what it is. They were doing a concert for them. Justice for Flint, or hashtag Justice for Flint was the name of that. And I was watching that. Several of the performances, several of the children that were just, tugging at the heartstrings because, hey, look, kids are out there in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, still. And I don't even know how long it's been going on now. It almost seems like, half a year? I don't know. It's been a long time that they haven't had, drinkable water. It's not even just drink, but just they can't bathe in it. They can't do anything with it because it's still tainted with just, it's insane. And the fact that their pipes still aren't fixed yet. What's going on? I don't know. So I was watching that, live tweeting with that, live tweeting with the Oscars. And then at 9:00, The Walking Dead came on. So I had to watch that as well. So I watched all three of these things at the same time. And I survived. Barely. I was exhausted, but, I survived. It was fun. Kind of. Yes, it was fun. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun. So, yeah, watched all three of those. The Oscars were somewhat, I don't want to say predictable, but they were different. There was a lot of Oscars so white kind of jokes going on, of course, with everyone wanted to see what Chris Rock was going to say, what he's going to do. Some people were upset because he didn't say enough. Some people weren't they felt maybe some of the jokes were a little off, and some people were like, hey, what about us? And by those us, we mean like maybe Latinos and Native Americans and Asians. Like, he's not, calling us out or saying like, hey, we should be included in this too. But that was the whole point of Oscar So White. And you can go and see Reign of April, or I'm calling her Twitter name, but the one who started the hashtag Oscar So White. She never meant it for just black people. She just meant it for everyone else who's not white, basically, because Oscar only seems to recognize only the white actors. But that hashtag was meant to represent all races being represented by Oscar, which it has not been. So yes, a new hashtag was born. I don't know who started it, but it's hashtag Not Your Mule, as if to say that all of these other ethnicities were kind of getting upset at, I guess, some of the black activists for not standing up for them. And it was like, hey, we are trying to help ourselves out. I mean, you can start up your own hashtag. Why do you have to jump on ours? But it wasn't even about that. It was crazy. It was nonsense. But that started off last week's outrage, because last week just seemed to be a whole week of outrage, because what came up next was the Nina Simone biopic, which, when I first heard about it, I was like, hey, that's exciting. I mean, I've been hearing about this biopic for years, like I think almost literally over a decade, because I remember there was a rumor, and it might have been around like 2005, that Mary J. Blige was supposed to play Nina Simone. Maybe. I could be misquoting, misremembering. Like I said, it was 10 years ago. And, that's all I heard about it then. Then we flash forward to, let's just say last week, and we find out, or actually, I didn't even know until I saw the pictures, that Zoe Saldana is being played, or is playing Nina Simone. Now, I personally love Zoe Saldana. That is probably my top celebrity crush. So I'm like, okay. I mean, I definitely agree with a lot of the controversy that's going on, that, there are better choices, definitely, by a long shot. And I'm not saying Zoe can't do it, but the fact that they put her, made her darker, basically blackface, and a lot of people were offended by that and were upset. Like, hey, it's hard enough for our like darker skinned black actresses to get work, and now you're going to go ahead and just get a lighter skin who they don't even want to claim her as black. Although I'm not sure if she has in interviews said that she's black, even though she's more of a Latina. But hey, whatever. This is the part of like nitpicking that I didn't really want to get into. I'm like, can we be happy that, first of all, we're getting a Nina Simone biopic at all? Maybe, perhaps. I know the production team is all like, I guess, apparently they're all white, and people are finding that to be a problem too. But I'm just trying to find the silver lining in some of these things, and it doesn't seem to be enough. People are already planning to boycott this film because of that, and I'm not quite ready to get to that level yet. I'm gonna wait and hold out. The other thing that became a major controversy is the Ghostbusters trailer finally came out. Now, I for one have been waiting since, well, last year, I think, once we heard about the cast. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be hilarious. These very funny people, like, I think all of them, except for Melissa McCarthy, they have all, been on SNL. Melissa McCarthy, she's actually did her 4th hosting job. So it's, yeah, you can call her, SNL alum, kind of. But I was excited. I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm ready. Let's do this. We saw the trailer. I saw the trailer. I was excited. I was like, yes, I don't want to see any more trailers, because that's the problem I had with Deadpool. They had so many trailers that I felt like half the movie was already seen. Even like the Red Band trailer stuff that I went to go see, obviously, but like even that stuff, like they just spoiled so much of it. I mean, I still enjoyed the movie, but there was just so much in the trailer. So now that we have this one trailer out so far, I don't want to see any more until the movie, because I don't want anything else to be spoiled. Now, back to the controversy around it. A lot of people are upset because they made Leslie Jones' character not really a scientist, and this particular reboot of Ghostbusters is basically just retelling the same story, I guess, as the original Ghostbusters, which people kind of had a problem with. Now, I will say this. I have read an article from Ernie Hudson and saying how originally his character had much more of a backstory than what we know about Wilson now, which is, as far as we know, he's just some random black guy that came in and was like, yeah, if there's a steady paycheck involved, I'll believe in whatever you tell me. Whereas, according to his article, he was like a former or ex-fighter pilot. And, I mean, he I think was in the Air Force and all this other stuff. Great stuff. I mean, it's wonderful. But things happen, in the movies, and things are cut, and sadness. So it didn't quite pan out, and his story is diminished to what we know as it is now. It's a great read. You can find it on Entertainment Weekly. If I remember to do so, I'll try to put a link into the show notes, because that's what show notes are for. But people I'll say they are upset because Leslie Jones' character seems to be just another person. They're like, why can't she be a scientist, or, something to that effect? And I'm like, why not? Why can't we just have a regular everyman person or every woman person? And just the fact that they're all women, let's be happy about that. Even though I do know that there are some people out there that are actually upset because this reboot features all women. Yes, like I said before, there are guys out there, even some women, that still don't respect other women, but that's another thing entirely. There's just so much outrage last week, and then as someone just kind of summed it up, there's just so much saltiness. So I had, made a decision there. I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to give into it. I want to be whatever the equivalent of that, of whatever seasoning there is. And I want to be that of, not necessarily joy and happiness, but positivity or optimism. Whatever equivalent seasoning of that, that's what I want to be. With a dash of snarkiness, of course, because, it's just my thing. Sure, I'll, tell jokes and make, ha-has about whatever it is, but it's coming from a place of entertainment. It's not really one of like nerd rage, or what am I trying to define it as? I wrote it in a future blog post that I still have not released yet, trying to call the ANBand. That is Angry Nerd Bandwagon. I am not jumping on the Angry Nerd Bandwagon unless it deems absolutely necessary to. And I can't think of an example right now, but there are times when there are certain movies or things in nerddom that comes out, and everyone seems to just jump on this thing of hating it. And I'm not even sure why sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's called for, because there are some things like Batman and Robin with the bat nipples that, that is a legit thing to be upset about, because that is not needed. No one wants that. No one asked for that. So we can all, jump on and be upset about that. Right now, that's just the running joke. So we're not really mad about it anymore, because we have much better Batmen since then. But that's just still something that we collectively can, continue to jump on and be outraged about. Except now it's just a joke. So we're good. But yeah, as for the Ghostbusters outrage, I am not outraged in the least about it. I don't want to say I don't care, but maybe I don't care. I don't know. But the through line between Ghostbusters and Nina Simone is Leslie Jones. She would have been perfect to be cast for Nina Simone. And that would have just shot her right up through stardom and everything. Not that she's not a star now, but she would be a bigger name because of Nina Simone. I mean, because of that film. But hey, that's where we are in this world. And I have my reasons why they may have gone with Zoe Saldana. Maybe because her name is more known than others. Other people have threw out names like Viola Davis, who would have been also just a lovely choice, a great choice, perfect choice. It's hard to say that she is not as well known, because at least Viola Davis, she's been nominated for, I think, at least 1 or 2 Oscars already. So, I mean, she's definitely up there in renowned status. I don't know. Maybe she was busy. I mean, there are all these other reasons that we as just viewers or the outside of the industry don't know why people were cast or people were not cast. Maybe the price wasn't right. Maybe they're just, like I said, maybe they're busy. I don't know. I'm not defending the choice because I too agree that Zoe Saldana, as much as I love her, she is not the best choice for this role. But I also don't want to judge her performance, even though she is, made to look darker. No one should be blaming Zoe for this because she's just working. So she's doing what she got to do. So hopefully we can kind of agree on that point there. But yeah, that is things that are going on right now, and that I just wanted to get my piece out there because this was just too much just to fit into a few series of tweets. Even though I've seen so many people arguing either not necessarily for either one of these topics, but it's just been so much going on, and I was like, I just can't just tweet it. So let me save it and blurt it out here for all of my listening audience to kind of chime in. And, chime in. Leave me a comment or tweet at me and we can continue a discussion there. But there are definitely a lot more people more well-versed in this topic than I am. I just wanted to get my 2 cents in there and say how I felt about it, which it almost seems like I don't really feel anything. But like I said, I am not for the casting, but I mean, sometimes it's perfectly casted, sometimes it's not. I mean, I think someone pointed out the example of Jamie Foxx channeling Ray Charles. I think that was to a different context, but still perfectly casted. Completely unrelated, we're going to move on to the next topic at hand. Daredevil Season 2, that live tweet will be in a couple weeks when that happens, because it'll be released on Netflix, of course, Daredevil Season 2, and I will be co-hosting that live tweet with Geek Soul Brother, who will also be on the podcast sooner or later, one of these days. So yeah, listen out for that, and also watch out for that. So be sure to follow me if you aren't already, and follow Geek Soul Brother at Geek Soul Brother, spelled exactly how it sounds. And yeah, we'll be live tweeting at least probably the first 2 or 3, maybe even 4 episodes. I don't have to work the following Saturday, so I probably might be up for a few episodes. And I'm going to say this now. If you're live tweeting with us, be sure to change your Netflix settings so that each episode will just keep playing. I think after 3 episodes, you do have to say, hey, I do want to keep playing, because it'll ask you, do you want to continue? Yeah, I do want to continue. Unless you don't, then don't. Simple as that. So that will be when Daredevil Season 2 comes out. So be sure to do that. And the only other thing that will be happening within that time from this episode to the next episode is Batman v Superman. So I might possibly have a review ready. I know I've got another film I'm going to be checking out this week, 10 Cloverfield Lane. I decided I do want to go see that. So, because I went to see the first one, and all my friends, they were like, I don't want to see it. Or if they did see it, they didn't like it. So I felt like I was just alone in that category of wow, I must have been the only one that liked it. I mean, I went by myself to go see it. I know, I don't know. And maybe I thought it was just me, but I'm finding other people out there that did like it and other people that do want to see it. So hopefully maybe I'll find a group of them. Maybe I will go to the movie and end up running into some old friends again, like I did with Daredevil, because I went to go see Daredevil by myself, just randomly. One day I got out of work, I'm like, I'm going to go see Daredevil. And not Daredevil, Deadpool. I'm so sorry. There's so much alliteration going on. I'm going to go see Deadpool. And actually, backing up a little bit, the Daredevil film, that was another one that had a whole band of the Angry Nerd bandwagon was attacking that one too. But I think the TV show has made up for it, even though it's not something that's forgotten. The most recent attack that I do remember of the Angry Nerd bandwagon, or the ANBand, is when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. But I think some people are still a little iffy about that until they actually see the film. So we'll see. But yeah, that's all I got for now, I think. But yeah, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna get back into the Women's History Month. And like I am trying to do now for every episode is make sure I have some kind of Black history fact in there. So I'm going to combine the two. In this episode, we're going to talk about someone I came across, Mary Church Terrell. And I'm going to sound like I'm probably going to be repeating myself, but Mary Church Terrell, I don't know if Terrell's pronounced the way I pronounce my first name, but that is one of the things that stuck out to me. It was like, hey, who's this Terrell character? And the more I read about her, I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I need to share this because everyone should know this. Everyone should know about this person. And when we talk about Black History Month, I personally feel that Black history should be more than just February. It should be more than just Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. It should be, all these other people who contributed to Black people being where we are today, or helping us advance further, and still carving out paths to greatness, to excellence. And I am all about just celebrating our excellence, or even just acknowledging, not even just acknowledging, but enlightening us to our history, whether it's things that we've overcome or things that have tried to keep us down. It's things that we should know about as a people, as a community. And that is part of my mission that I've decided to take on, to use this medium to help do, in somewhat in an entertaining kind of way. So hang on, stay tuned, or don't turn the podcast off unless you really have to, or like, oh, I got to get back to work, or I made it to my destination. But either way, as long as you finish the podcast so you can hear about Mary Church Terrell, then after that, then you can do what you got to do. Sound good? Good.
Hello, Indubians. I'm Laura, host of LoudaVision, the podcast for visionaries, artists, and creatives. On my podcast, I'm interviewing fellow artists trying to figure out how we can bring our creative vision to life without compromising our values, crushing our soul, and dying poor. Yep, that explains it. You can listen to the LoudaVision podcast on lauramioli.com and connect with me on Twitter @LoudaVision.
So March is Women's History Month, and I wanted to combine that with the Black history facts that I find or have found. So today we're going to talk about Mary Church Terrell. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Terrell the way that she pronounced it or her family pronounces it. I'm only doing that, yes, because that is my first name. That's how it's pronounced. But maybe it's Terrell. But that's how some people have mispronounced my name, so I don't know. And I will also say that, yes, this is why I'm talking about Mary Church Terrell, because the first thing that stood out to me, I was like, wait a second. This remarkable woman has the same name as my first name. I'm already confusing myself, but that's almost irrelevant. But that's what stood out to me about who this person is. I've never heard of her before until I did some research, and I'm like, wow, how haven't I ever heard of her before? Because she's remarkable. She's amazing. And I'm going to tell you why. If you do a quick Google search like I did, one of the first facts that comes up about her is that she is one of the first Black women to graduate with a degree, or graduate college with a degree. And I mean, already that's pretty remarkable, and especially for its time, which, I'll get into. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to jump around the timeline a lot, so please bear with me. I just picked out things that I found interesting, and I wanted to find someone who was interesting to me that I could, say, hey, you guys should go check out this person. So I'm going to give you a little brief story about her and some things I found interesting, but I highly recommend you look into Mary Church Terrell for yourself to, get a better understanding, get some history, get some culture in you. So let's jump into this real quick. So first of all, she was born in 1863. Just talking about her family a little bit. Her father was an entrepreneur, which was a big deal because I don't know of too many African-American entrepreneurs back then in the 1800s, but I mean, she was kind of set. So she had some money, so she was able to go to college, which she did. Her parents strived and stressed on education, which, I mean, you probably should, especially around that time, coming out of basically out of times of slavery, because as a slave, you don't really get to read at all. So that was highly stressed. So she went to college. She majored in the classics at Oberlin College, which, it did accept whites, not whites. Well, of course it accepted whites, but it accepted all races is what I meant to say. All races, all genders. And she was pretty much the only African-American woman among mostly white male students in her class. So she was nominated as a class poet. She also served as the editor on the Oberlin Review. And when she graduated with her bachelor's degree in 1884, she was one of the first African-American women to do so. Later on, she did earn her master's degree, also at Oberlin, at 1888. After she graduated, she did some teaching at like a secondary school. Again, putting that education forward, teaching the young ones. She went to Europe for a couple years and became fluent in French, German, and Italian. And she came back, did some more teaching, and she also was a principal at the same school she was teaching at. Now, with their connections through her father, she was able to meet some other figures in history that we that we should know about, such as Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington. Now, she was, I guess, closer with Frederick Douglass than she was with Booker T. Washington, but the fact that they knew, all these people and they all kind of hung out together and, strived for civil rights advancement and, helping our people to, move forward, that's, a big deal. She's one of those names that should be recognized, and that's, again, why I'm doing this and talking about her. She was a founding member of the NAACP in 1909. She was there. She, signed on to the call, as they say. So yeah, she was there for the civil rights campaigns. She was also an activist in the women's suffrage movements. So, she was all around doing stuff. She became the first president of the newly formed National Association of Colored Women, an organization I didn't know about until reading about her. But what they kind of established was day nurseries and kindergartens and helped orphans. So, more helping with the education and the children and the youth of tomorrow, making them better people together. Yes. Now, like I said, she did some writing. She was a class poet, or nominated for the class poet, studied the classics. So she identified as a writer. She was a journalist for a variety of newspapers and, quote, published either by or in the interest of colored people, unquote. It's actually something that she had said in her book, which I'll get to a little bit later. But she liked to go by the pen name Euphemia Kirk. I really like that name, Euphemia. Yes, just want that to settle in. It does sound like euphoria, but just Euphemia. It has a nice ring to it. So yes, Euphemia Kirk was her pen name, and she wrote for many newspapers for Black people or about Black people. It just, lots of writing. She did that for many, many years. She did write her own autobiography, and which I was saving for later, but A Colored Woman in a White World, published 1940. So definitely check that out. It's definitely worth it yet. I mean, I literally just found this person just a couple days ago, so that is added to my reading list. In 1904, Terrell was invited to speak at the International Congress of Women, which is held in Berlin, Germany. She was the only Black woman at that conference, and she gave her speech in German. Then she delivered the speech again in French, and then she did it one more time in English. That was something that really stood out to me because, I mean, I don't think even today you see that happening because there's always some interpreter there. You have a little earpiece there. But no, she did it herself 3 times in 3 different languages. That was amazing. That was like, wow. But it gets better because although I don't have the years listed on this, but Terrell was a delegate to the International Peace Conference after the end of World War I. While in England, she stayed with none other than, how should I put this? The cornerstone or one of the, I want to call him a founding father, but I don't know if he actually was, but a central figurehead in the sci-fi and fantasy literary world. H.G. Wells and his wife, they invited Terrell to stay at their home for that conference. So that was just amazing. As a Blurred, that was like, wow, all these worlds combining. And I don't know, I just found that to be really quite amazing. So even moving on past that, she came back in 1950. Terrell sued and won a suit against a restaurant that refused her service. Her tactics for, doing this, she would come into restaurants and basically do sit-ins, and she won that case. On June 8th, 1953, the court ruled that segregated eating places in Washington, D.C. were unconstitutional. And even after the age of 80, Terrell continued to participate in picket lines protesting the segregation of restaurants and theaters, which included, sit-ins and boycotts and picketing and all that stuff that we hear about so many times in the civil rights movements. She lived to see the Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education, holding unconstitutional the racial segregation of public schools. So, again, she was very influential and active, even in her much older years, for the civil rights movements, pretty much all throughout her life, through civil rights, through women's rights, and it was just, I guess, a great day for her just to see that schools had become desegregated. Her story kind of ends 2 months after that. She died in 1954, so 2 months after that ruling. And I would say that she lived a pretty full and influential life. And I feel better knowing about her now than like going on through life, never knowing that this remarkable woman had ever existed, striving for excellence and education and equal rights for everyone, not just, for Black people, but for women, especially Black women. And I'd highly recommend you do more research into finding out about her life. Check out her book, A Colored Woman in a White World. You can find even more resources and information at the Library of Congress, their website, which I will provide a link to in this episode's show notes. So please look into Mary Church Terrell. And again, I apologize if you are related to this remarkable woman. If you actually knew her, or you know people that knew her and I'm pronouncing her name wrong each time, please forgive me. But also keep in mind, this is almost exactly how I spell my first name, except that first vowel is an I, not an E, but there you have it. Either way, Mary Church Terrell.
Hey y'all, I'm Courtney Hinton of VerveHouseCollective.com. Verve House Collective is all about creatives, entrepreneurs, and those who want to live an awesome life full of intention. Again, that site is VerveHouseCollective.com, and we'd love to see ya.
The indoob Podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to yet another lovely episode of the indoob Podcast. And by the way, I do need to change probably some of my either commercials or the ending of this podcast tag that Bilford. I apologize, Bilford. I'm so sorry. Please don't yell at me later. But we are now on a few other means of listening. I believe we are now on Spreaker, if my account didn't close because of too much information. Hopefully my account didn't close on Spreaker, but I'm also on Stitcher now, so you can find the indoob Podcast there. And I think that's it. Spreaker and Stitcher. So yeah, I'm on Spreaker and Stitcher, so go check those out or subscribe so you're not limited to just iTunes anymore or just listening at podbean.com. So it's everywhere. And I'm still working on trying to catch up and get everything on YouTube as well. And hopefully very soon, I know I keep saying it, I've been saying it for months now, but hopefully I'll be able to actually make some videos, but we'll see. I won't say when they're coming, they'll just arrive and they'll be there. So subscribe to the indoob Podcast channel on YouTube, which there is one. You just have to find it. You might find it under the T. Sterling Watson user name, maybe. I don't know. But all that will be situated and figured out, and I'll make everything nice and easy and clear and plain on indoob.com sooner or later. It might not happen this week, but it will happen. So everything will be organized, and you'll be able to find what you need, and you can get all old episodes and new episodes, and you can listen on Spreaker, on Stitcher, on iTunes, and on podbean.com, and on YouTube, and everywhere, because we'll be everywhere, or I'll be everywhere, and it'll just be everywhere. And tell your friends too. That's really kind of what I wanted to tell you. Just tell your friends about the Indoob podcast and how much stuff you learned. Did you learn anything? Let me know, because I want to know. You got questions for me? Do you have questions? Ask me. Mostly on Twitter, because that's where I am. So hit me up at INDOOB, or indoob.com. Leave a comment there, or on iTunes. Oh yes, and make sure you rate me on iTunes or Stitcher or Spreaker, any kind of rating system, because that helps me get out there and people can find me. So we're 20 episodes in, and here's to the next 20, 50, 100, and all that good stuff. Cool? Great. So with all that said, remember, if the world didn't suck, we'd all fall off.
Podcast was recorded on planet Earth and is an extension of the Indoob blog found at indoob.com. You can subscribe and find more episodes on iTunes and indoob.podbean.com. You can also follow Master Sterling on Twitter at indoob. I am not allowed. This is Bilford signing off, and this has been another 3SFX production.
Use your words, Chief. Good boy.